Hi. How the hell is everybody? It says I'm live. I think I'm live. I'm live. There we go. We have it. We're counting down over here. Um, I had to come on here, and I was just looking at some stuff over on Facebook on the face of book, or the book of face, and I had a comment that was kind of a lengthy comment, and I wanted to talk about some of the things that are going on right now. We have President Biden who just whacked the Keystone pipeline. They're going to cut drilling here in the United States for oil, and he wants to stop fracking. So, for the environmentalists out there, I would really love to talk to somebody and find out exactly what their point is on it, and then how do we transition from that? I would love to hear their point, because I'll tell you what we have now. First off, the Keystone pipeline, that's an opportunity for us to bring really inexpensive crude oil from Canada and the oil sands up in Fort McMurray and Alberta down to the United States and process that, and it's extremely cheap. In fact, one of the beautiful things about that oil, it's actually really kind of crappy oil, but it's very inexpensive, and it really doesn't fluctuate in price much because it's really us in Canada, but the only two that can use it. It's a real tarry, nasty. It doesn't flow well. In fact, when refineries here that process Canadian crude, they send light cycle oil. Basically, it's almost like a diesel fuel to cut it, to thin it out so that it can be piped, down through the pipelines down into North America, and then we process that, and they pull that oil back out through the refining, that light cycle oil, and or like a diesel that thins it out. They pull that back out through the refining process to then run the crude to make your products like gasoline, diesel fuel, jet fuel, so on and so forth. So by doing that, what we're going to do then is we're going to go back to the international market and start tapping or start buying. Then, instead of using our own domestic oil, we're going to start buying oil back from Saudi Arabia and other places around the world. So we're just going to start shipping our cash right back outside of the United States, which is not a good thing. We have some of the largest, especially here in North America, and up in Alaska, especially, some of the largest oil reserves in the world. There's an oil reserve up in Alaska that they believe might actually be larger than the oil reserve that's in the Middle East, truthfully. And it's sitting right there. I mean, they know it's there, but we're not using it right now. And that's something that's kind of for us, and that's a great thing for Americans and Canadians, and other parts of the world. Because we export a lot of refined products. Not every single country in the world has refineries. So a lot of places, what we can do is we can take the inexpensive Canadian crude, our own crude from the Gulf, off the Pacific, in the Pacific, off the California coast, up in Washington, Oregon. We can take that oil, refine it here in the United States, and then export it, and beautifully enough, keep Americans employed, and we kind of benefit, financially. Some are American companies, some are not, but we have that ability to do that. So that's one of the things that's really, really good. And again, one of the ways we do that is by being able to use pipelines. It's way more expensive and way more environmentally, and not as environmentally friendly to put that on trains and ship that down by trains, or put it, if we in Alaska, put it in the giant ships and then bring it down. A pipeline is very efficient. It keeps the cost way low. A lot of people, I don't think that they don't think of those costs. Okay. But now when we stop fracking, let's talk about that quickly. And I think a big part of the problem is a lot of people, they voted for Biden, right? You like Biden so much. That was a great thing for you. But you just cut off your nose to spite your face. If you think Orange Man bad and you don't like the words he's saying, hey, that's fine. You don't have to like Trump, But if you sit there and say the things he does as far as running this country and the direction that our country is going is bad, you really live in a dreamland. Um, but if you're just concerned about the liberal ideology and you're concerned about feelings instead of facts, I mean, this video is probably not for you anyway. You're not going to agree with what I say. It wouldn't matter if I proved it to you anyway. You're not going to like what I have to say. So, and anyway, let's talk about the natural gas, cutting that, right? So we're going to stop fracking in this country. We're going to stop fracking, cut it out completely, zero, zip, zilch. So we've been doing fracking heavily for the past 10, 15 years in this country. I would say we probably get 60 to 70% of our natural gas through fracking. The rest of it, a lot of it comes from, when you tap oil wells, you get natural gas comes off first. There's other ways of getting natural gas out. There's tons of it in the Gulf. When you cut that out, the power plants in this country, the coal-fired power plants that everyone was so down on years ago under the Obama administration, what they did is they transitioned those. We were fracking and we pull off massive, massive, massive amounts of natural gas. And we harness that and we do a couple things with it. One, we send it out to homes. My house is heated. I cook and I heat my food and or my house and my water and make my food with natural gas. And then also there's LNG plants. LNG stands for liquid natural gas. Liquid natural gas that's the process. The LNG plants is the process in which they take natural gas and they compress it and they do different things, run it through a process, turn the gas into liquid, and then they refine the liquid into products like diesel fuel, jet fuel, so on and so forth. Home heating oil, those types of products. So when you gut that, and the only way that's efficient to do is by having an abundance of natural gas. When you have an abundance of it, that means the cost is low, and therefore it is profitable for a company to process that stuff, because it does use a tremendous amount of energy to be able to process that into the usable products. So this is something we're going to gut that. That's going to take our gas price. So those of you that have a hard time, let's talk about the people that say they want the $15 an hour minimum wage. $15 an hour isn't going to do anything for you when your home heating cost for your apartment, whether it's gas or for a small house that you rent and you pay for that. Right now, when you're paying roughly, let's say $80 to $120 a month for your 1,000 square foot or smaller, give or take, home, because we're going to short the market, which means we're going to, the supply and demand. The demand for the gas is going to be high. The supply is going to be very low, which takes the cost and drives it straight up. Okay. So if you recall when gas prices were $5 and $6 a gallon, that was probably 12 years ago, give or take. That we're going to see that again. We're going to see that again. There's no question about it. I hope all of you have a good job and able to afford that. That's, it's an expense that unfortunately I have to pay for. It's one I definitely don't want to, and it will impact me. It's going to impact absolutely everybody. But now that the cost of that is high, your electric, whether it's electric or natural gas is what you're using to heat your house, the cost is going to skyrocket. The plants, even locally here, and I'm in the Midwest in the Chicagoland area, the plants here that have converted over to natural gas, when they take the coal, they have a whole unit called a coal handling unit, and that's where they take the coal and they flip the train cars over, which dumps it into a chute, and they convey it up to the coal handling, where they pulverize it, and then they make it so that basically they can spray it inside the boilers. The boilers heat the water, make steam turns a turbine turns a generator. That's how you make power. Generator sends power out the grid. When that happens, coal was cheap. We had, our infrastructure was set up for it. The power plants were all had coal handling units on them, which are expensive to maintain, a lot of moving parts, and they run 24 hours a day. So what they've done when we had the ability to harness natural gas at the cost, it was cost effective for the power companies to then convert those plants over to burn natural gas, which did several things. It's much easier as far as maintenance goes on the facility, on the boilers and stuff like that. They don't break down. They don't have to shut them down. They can bring them down easier, faster than it is with coal. You're not dealing with slag. You're not dealing with the byproducts of coal, and you're not dealing. It's a much cleaner problem. You're not dealing with, again, the ash and everything else that you have on the backside of power plants. They have, they deal with all the ash, and there's a big unit called an electrostatic precipitator. We can go into anyway. That's technical. It doesn't matter. But the coal is dirty. It's very dirty. So you don't want that. The natural gas was a godsend. Fracking was. I mean, I understand there's environmental impact on everything. There's environmental impact on using coal to heat your homes. So I'm not against. I am not against having. I'm not against having green energies. The problem is we don't have an infrastructure for it, and we are a long way from it. I think right now with wind and solar in this country, it literally does 3%. 3%. Our current. You drive through Indiana and other states and Illinois, and when you're in the central parts, and you see hundreds and hundreds, maybe thousands of giant wind turbines, and those things are producing 3 megawatts a piece when they are running at 100%. 3 megawatts. That's a significant amount of power, but that power is very, very expensive to send out to the grid. The transmission of that power is very, very expensive. That's why the government had to give subsidies. If there was not government subsidies to build those, you wouldn't see any of them. Literally zero. And they have an expiration date on them. And we're already seeing that becomes a big issue, because you can't recycle all that fiberglass and carbon fiber and all the material that it takes to build the giant blades. And you don't understand those blades. Some of those are, we're talking the span of the blades from the top to the bottom when they're spinning is 250 feet plus. They're massive. They're probably a lot bigger than you even think they are when you're driving down the expressway and you see them spinning. So we have that to contend with. So that's another environmental issue, is they take up a massive landfill to and energy to either process, to chew it up, and to make the footprint smaller, to bury it. You don't recycle fiberglass and the other materials that it takes to make those. They really are not a profitable. Like I said, if the government wasn't paying for about half of it, they wouldn't even be profitable to build. So you kind of see we have a big problem here. So a lot of people want to be down on Trump for cutting EPA emissions, the standards, and really letting America, North America, be energy independent. You want to say, Orange Man bad for that. What you don't realize, though, is he helped you in several ways. Let's talk about the EPA real quick, as I'm jumping around, I know. Let's talk about the EPA real quick. When you cut EPA regulations, people, they lost their mind. But the people that are losing their mind don't understand what it is that he's doing. So if you cut the EPA regulations and you allow, let's use a steel mill. And they're able to create more tons of pollution per year under their current permits and license and stuff like that. When they're able to do that, what you don't understand on a steel mill is here in the United States, we already have really strict and fantastic EPA regulations on the byproducts and the exhaust that blast furnaces put out, and the basic oxygen furnaces, which turn iron into steel, and all that. We have EPA regulations on that, where we harness the gas. It goes through scrubbers. It goes through before, and then a lot of times the CO that comes off of that is burnt in a boiler, which turns into steam, which is able to run other parts of the plant. There's a lot of things that you don't know. So when you want to increase the cost of doing that by creating much stricter, so they say you have to cut your pollution tonnage down by X, which means they have to then build massive processes to be able to harness that, which takes the cost, and those take energy to run. So then, which takes the cost of the steel, up considerably because, again, that all hurts the bottom line. And then the problem is then we have overseas. You have companies overseas that have steel mills. Here's the thing they don't do in Mexico, in India, in China. They vent right to atmosphere. They vent right to atmosphere. They don't have gas cleaning. They don't have scrubbers. They don't have dust catchers and all that kind. They vent that stuff straight to atmosphere because they don't have EPA regulations over there. And then they take their employees and they pay them slave wages to produce that cheap steel, that cheap Chinese steel or steel in India or Mexico or wherever it is. And then that guts the United States. So you'd better damn well hope that we make that steel right here. We refine that oil right here. We make that power right here in the United States where we have strict regulations. And by cutting EPA standards to be able to create more tonnage overall so that we can export product to these countries that to be able to make the products cheap enough so that they're not enticed to build an oil refinery or more oil refineries in India where they're going to pollute the globe, because that's what we're concerned about, right? The globe, everyone, all over. You know, there's a multi-levels here that people just don't see. They see a headline and they vote. They don't like Trump for whatever it is, the cut of his jib. They don't like his attitude, whatever. I don't care. Like, what I care about is I care about the United States. I care about me. I care about you. I care about our border security. I care about this country here with 328 million people here. They want to let 10,000 refugees in right now. Biden's president. He's going to let them all in. Well, that's fantastic. But at some point, the scale tips to the other side. We're only a country of 328 million people. We don't have 1.5 billion people like China does. And at 328 million people, at what it costs to live in the United States, eventually that scale is going to tip. And now you also aren't going to have a sustainable job. You're going to be on welfare. You're going to be completely dependent upon the government. But that's exactly what they want. Biden's ready for the Great Reset. Here we have $27 trillion. They want to do $27 trillion in debt. We have a $22 trillion economy. Come on. This is insane. This is insane. And then you want to cut our energy independence by stop drilling and fracking in the United States. No, the Keystone pipeline. There's other pipelines. Don't get me wrong. We're still going to send the oil. But this was one that was going to help us be even more efficient here in the United States, which puts dollars in our pocket when we can refine these products, we can process the oil, we can harness natural gas, do it better, cleaner than other countries are, and we can do that and keep money in our own pockets while we make some money. You know, people just don't understand. They think that this is just they think that it's just I'm going to show Trump. Let me tell you what you showed Trump. Nothing. You showed Trump nothing. You know, I'm assuming that the majority of the people, a huge majority of the people, if anyone watches this, that you are not a millionaire or a billionaire. Okay. Trump's down in Mar-a-Lago. One, I don't think they got the heat on down there. Okay. So he's not worried about natural gas heating his house. Two, if he did, I don't think he's going to hurt. The bill's not going to hurt him. Okay. But I guarantee you, all the people through mid-America and northern United States and all that, it's going to hurt you. Maybe in Canada. I mean, I don't know. Canada's got a lot of natural gas too. You guys are on a different system than we are. But I know this here in North America. Yeah, it's going to hurt. It's going to sting. You don't realize what you did. It's all part of the Great Reset. Let's tank this economy and kill the United States dollar, US dollar. We want to kill that and then gut the country so that we can go to, globalism. That's what you want, right? Yeah.
Come on, man.
Yeah. Come on, man. Seriously. I get all my Biden drops over here.
I'll call polluters accountable.
Yeah. Anyway, it's just something to think about, folks. I don't think it's People that voted for Biden, you made a bad decision. And I would love to know, again, this is the, I would love to know for people to please tell me, if you're liberal, if you're Democrat, why did you do it? Based on what? Based on what? Because everyone said, oh, he's racist, he's misogynist, he's this, he's that. You got to give an example. And the only thing they have to say is, well, if I have to tell you, you're not even worth the conversation. You say that because you have no words. You have no words. It's a really interesting time. Be curious to see how this ends. Anyway, well, listen, we're going to wrap this up. That's all I had to say. Everyone take care. We'll see you next time.